curse of what would have been. Welcome to Vantage Aditya. There is a silent psychological prison that does not use walls, chains, or guards, yet millions live inside it every single day. It is not failure. It is not rejection. It is something far more haunting. It is the endless echo of a question that never leaves the mind. What if? Watch carefully till the very end, because the final realization in this story explains why some people live powerful lives while others remain emotionally trapped for decades without even realizing it. Man sits alone in an airport lounge at midnight. The lights are bright, but his eyes look distant. Flights are departing, announcements are echoing, people are moving forward, yet his mind is traveling backward. 15 years backward. There was a job offer once, another country, a bold move, a risky step. Friends advised against it. Family hesitated. Comfort whispered stay. Fear disguised itself as responsibility, and he chose the safe option. Life moved forward, promotions came, stability arrived, bills were paid, responsibilities were fulfilled. On paper, everything looked successful. But every time he saw someone who had taken that leap, a quiet voice inside whispered, "What would life have looked like if that decision had been different?" This is the curse of what would have been. Not the pain of failure, but the lifelong uncertainty of unused possibilities. A woman stands at a wedding function, smiling as relatives congratulate her for her stable life. The music is loud, laughter surrounds her, yet her mind drifts back to a small notebook she once carried, a notebook filled with sketches. There was a time when she wanted to build something creative, something uncertain, something that had no guaranteed salary but unlimited possibility. But life demanded practicality. Security became priority. The sketches slowly disappeared. Years later, stability is present, but excitement is missing. There is no visible regret, no dramatic sadness, just a strange emotional emptiness that appears randomly. While watching a movie, walking past an art store, or seeing someone else living the life she once imagined. That emptiness has a name. It is the psychological weight of unattempted dreams. Human beings are designed to heal from failure surprisingly fast. Research consistently shows that people who tried and failed emotionally recover faster than people who never tried at all. Because failure has an ending. It provides clarity. It closes the mental loop. But the mind cannot close the loop of what if. It keeps replaying alternate timelines that never existed, creating imaginary versions of life that feel both real and unreachable at the same time. And the more imagination a person has, the heavier this burden becomes. This is why some of the most outwardly successful people privately struggle with silent dissatisfaction. Not because life went wrong, but because they constantly sense that life could have been different. Imagine two parallel roads. On one road walks a person who attempted something bold and failed. There is temporary embarrassment, temporary financial struggle, temporary emotional pain. But eventually, acceptance arrives. The story becomes complete. That person says, "I tried." On the second road walks a person who never attempted the decision that once called them. There is no dramatic loss, no visible mistake, no social embarrassment. Life looks normal. But internally, the story never finishes. The mind keeps writing unfinished chapters again and again. Decades later, the same thought returns. Maybe life could have been different. One person carries the memory of failure. The other carries the burden of imagination. And surprisingly, Imagination often weighs heavier than failure. A retired executive once gave a talk to young professionals. He did not talk about success strategies, leadership frameworks, or career planning. He said something far simpler. At the end of life, the most painful memories are not the risks taken. They are the risks avoided. Because risks taken create stories. Risks avoided create questions. And questions do not age. They stay alive inside the mind for years. Look closely at people who appear unusually alive, energetic, and internally peaceful even after experiencing setbacks. Most of them share one psychological advantage. They gave themselves permission to attempt. Not every attempt succeeded, but their mind does not torture them with imaginary timelines. Their past feels complete. Now look at people who seem permanently cautious, constantly overthinking, repeatedly replaying old decisions. Often, the issue is not current problems. The issue is unresolved alternate lives playing silently inside their imagination. This is why the curse of what would have been is so dangerous. It does not destroy life suddenly. It slowly drains emotional energy over decades without anyone noticing the source. There is an interesting psychological pattern. Whenever people cross the age of 40 or 50, conversations begin changing. In younger years, people talk about plans. In later years, people talk about chances they once had. And the emotional tone of that conversation reveals everything. Some speak with pride. That was risky, but it was worth trying. Others speak with quiet pauses. There was an opportunity once, but circumstances did not allow it. Circumstances are sometimes real, but very often, fear quietly disguises itself as circumstance. And that realization becomes clear only years later. Imagine reaching a stage of life where responsibilities are complete, financial pressure is lower, time finally becomes available, yet energy is missing. Not physical energy, but psychological courage. Because courage unused for decades does not suddenly activate. It slowly fades. And that is when the deepest realization appears. Opportunities were not limited. Courage was. This realization does not create dramatic sadness. It creates something more unsettling, a calm understanding that certain doors have now permanently closed. But here is the powerful truth most people never notice. The curse of what would have been does not come from wrong decisions. It comes from unconscious decisions. Decisions taken automatically because everyone else was taking them. Decisions taken without asking, is this truly the life being chosen, or simply the safest version of it? People who consciously choose safety rarely regret it, because they own the decision. But people who drift into safety without awareness often spend years wondering why life feels incomplete, despite everything being fine. The difference is awareness. Right now, somewhere in the world, thousands of people are standing at invisible crossroads. Not dramatic movie-like crossroads, but small, silent ones. A course they want to start, a skill they want to build, a place they want to move, a conversation they want to have, an idea they want to test. None of these decisions look life-changing today. But 10 years later, they may define the emotional story of their life. Because destiny rarely changes through giant moments. It changes through small, postponed decisions that slowly shape identity. One day, every person reaches a stage where speed reduces and reflection increases. And reflection is brutally honest. It does not ask how comfortable life was. It asks how fully life was experienced. It does not measure how safe the journey was. It measures how consciously it was lived. And in that quiet reflection, the loudest regrets rarely say, "I tried and failed." They usually whisper, "I wonder what would have happened if I had tried." So the real question is not whether every risk should be taken. That is unrealistic. The real question is whether the decisions shaping life are being made consciously or automatically. Because the deepest form of regret is not choosing the wrong path. It is realizing that the path was never consciously chosen at all. And this is the final realization. Life rarely punishes people for bold attempts, but it silently punishes prolonged hesitation. Not immediately, not dramatically, but slowly, by replacing curiosity with routine, possibility with predictability, and excitement with a quiet, persistent question that returns again and again. What would life have been if that step had been taken? Think about this carefully tonight, because years from now, the most valuable peace of mind will not come from perfect decisions. It will come from knowing that when certain moments asked for courage, hesitation did not permanently answer on behalf of the future. Subscribe to Vantage Aditya for more insights on psychology, leadership, and life decisions, because sometimes a single realization at the right time can quietly change the entire direction of a life.